talking to Nick Pierce of the Liberty Flames Sports Network. I want to address you properly for once in my life.
That'd be a first, right? No.
Well,
Sir Nicholas.
We're trying to make strides here, Pierce. So anyway, let's talk about something of interest and something you're very knowledgeable at, Liberty and Southern Miss. It's going to be the opener on Saturday in Hattiesburg. Blanket question, what should we expect out of the Flames?
That's a great question, actually. And I don't think we're going to really get that answer until they get out there on the field on Saturday night. I think that's been something that a lot of fans have been wondering about here in the post-Malik Willis era of this offense. We know what Willis did for the last 2 years, but now he's quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, and Charlie Brewer is the man under center for the Flames now. Some new running backs in that room as well. They get the transfer Day Hunter from Hawaii, who was their leading rusher last year, and just recently moved a wide receiver, Trayon Sibley, to the running back room to help account for some injuries that they had there in fall camp. Got some new receivers, Caleb Sneed, local product from Lynchburg, transferring home from Campbell, play his final year of eligibility for Liberty. Then you get C.J. Yarborough back, who missed last season, sat out for personal reasons, and then he was a big part of that 10-1 team back in 2020. So still waiting to get C.J. Daniels back at receiver. He's coming back from an ACL injury. Looks like maybe week 3 is the target for him. Defensively, you've got new defensive coordinator, co-D coordinators in Josh Aldridge and Jack Curtis, who were both on staff last year, but obviously a new title for them. So lots of question marks. And a new offensive line coach and a whole new offensive line that I'm sure we'll get into some of this a little bit later on.
With that being said, should we expect anything different out of the defense? I mean, you said they were there last year, but when you're getting when you're wearing the big boy pants, so to speak, and making those calls, it's a little bit different. Should we expect anything different out of the defense?
I don't think it's going to be that different this year, Bob. I think with the with 2 guys that were in the system last year, I think a lot of the verbiage is going to stay the same. I think a lot of the calls, things like that, they're just tweaking a few things here and there. And one of the big points of emphasis this year is going to be getting turnovers. You look at last year, that was the one area that this Flames defense has kind of struggled at the last couple of years. Total yards, they were 11th in the country in defense, and yards allowed, 24th in the country in scoring defense. So that was really the point of emphasis all fall camp. And the secondary has been saying they've got a phrase that they've coined: tips and overthrows, got to get those. So safeties and DBs are taking a lot of pride in that. The D-line's taking pride in that, trying to get some tip balls up there at the line of scrimmage. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. That could be the biggest change if they're successful in that.
A few more questions with Nick Pierce from the Flames Sports Network. Charlie Brewer is the quarterback. Any surprise? I mean, to me, just looking from the outside, quarterback's not really a slim position this year with the Flames, even though you're replacing a potential first-round draft pick could have been.
Yeah, it's not like the cupboard's bare by any stretch. Look, Charlie Brewer's had a lot of success at the Division I level, 4-year starter at Baylor. The man's played in a Sugar Bowl. He's got more than 10,000 yards passing in his career. He's accounted for 90 total touchdowns, 22 of them rushing, 68 passing. So a guy with a seasoned veteran. Obviously, it didn't work out for him at Utah last year. Only played in 3 games. He's had a history of some concussions and injuries, but when he's healthy and when he's right, look, I mean, he's a force out there on the football field, and he's a guy that went out there and had to win the starting job in fall camp this year. The team has rallied around him. Coach Freeze talking about what set him apart from the other guys. It was really that veteran presence and also some of his throws, the anticipation throws, as Coach Freeze called them, being able to anticipate where the receiver's going to be, what the defense is going to do, and be able to make the right reads. So I don't think he's going to be phased when he goes out on the road here Saturday night at Southern Miss. I think he's a guy who's been there, done that, obviously, in the Power 5 level. It should be a big crowd and big atmosphere, but nobody better that you'd want under center than him.
How special do you see the special teams being?
Special team, that's a good question. They've got a new kicker in there this year, and Nick Brown, a redshirt freshman out of Texas. He's been pretty consistent of late in practice. He's hit from, I think, 52 in a couple of in one of the open scrimmages that they had, hit from 50 plus a couple of times. So Coach Freeze, I think all things equal with weather and wind and all those things, would feel comfortable running him out there from that point. Braden Beck, the other young man who's attempted field goals on the roster, has been dealing with a little bit of an undisclosed injury throughout fall camp, so he hasn't been getting as many reps necessarily right now. Kickoff specialist will be Jason Stricker. He's done a really good job with that, so you'll have two different place kickers. And then the punting situation, you've got two different punters, and Max Morgan and Aiden Alvis, and that'll be on based on who they go with there. Both guys are on the travel roster. It'll be based upon what style type of punt that they want to execute. You do have a veteran long snapper back in Austin Mock, so usually if you're not paying much attention to the long snapper, that's probably a good thing. In the return game, they really like Chevrolet Lewis and Demario Douglas. They feel like those guys have the capability to break one this year, and certainly be nice. Flames haven't broke a whole lot of those over the last couple of years.
Good news for Aiden Alvis, no relation to me, so
no.
That's
spelled differently, in
right.
fact.
I call him cousin Aiden though, but no relation. Southern Miss. What do we know about the Golden Eagles?
Well, we know that they're coached by Will Hall. He's in his second year. They went 3-9 a year ago, but should be much improved. Last year's team, really hard to judge them based off of the offensive difficulties that they had in front of them. They went through, officially, they listed 10 different quarterbacks because of injuries, depleting the room. The young man that's going to start on Saturday night, Ty Keys, is a young player, but he's the most talented guy at the position on their roster, so they really believe in him, a dual threat guy. But again, he only played 3 games last year. They were lining up running backs. Frank Gore Jr. got snaps at technically a quarterback. They were running him out of Wildcat sets last year, and I wouldn't be surprised if they still do some of that this year. But make no mistake, they will be more of a traditional offense. Gore's back at running back. They've got a tremendous receiver on the outside, Jason Brownlee at 6'4", that can really create some matchup issues out there. Big question is going to be, can Keys get him the ball? And, for a young man that's inexperienced, and yeah, he's maybe done it in the summer and fall camp and things like that, but we'll see when they turn the lights on at 7 o'clock down in Hattiesburg how he performs. And, just a thought to that, I think that the Flames defensive ends, it'll be probably incumbent on them to try to keep him in the pocket and make him throw the football. Defensively for Southern Miss, they've got a lot of transfers from the SEC. They lost Hayes Maples, one of their top tacklers from last year, a middle linebacker, to an injury. But Dalen Gill, the Ole Miss transfer, will slot in right there at the middle linebacker spot. They really like him. They've got some other guys that have CUSA before they went to the Sun Belt,
right,
that had CUSA honors. And then I think a Mississippi State transfer at corner. So I think it was like 10 or 11 transfers that they had listed over there on the defensive side of the ball. So they should be deep. They were tough on defense last year and should present a challenge here on Saturday night.
I'm going to get you out on keys to the game, but before I do that, how disappointing would it be if Liberty opens up in Lynchburg next week 0-1?
Well, sure, it'd be disappointing, but I don't think it's it's not time to burn it all down.
Sure.
These first 2 games, I think, are. When you look at Liberty's schedule this year, the 12 games, obviously there's 4 on there that are going to be really tough to win. You look at the Power 5 opponents. I think that there's probably 4 or 5 on there that you look at and say, okay, Liberty should win those games. And then you've got some toss-ups. I think this is one of those toss-ups. It could go either way. It's week 1 of the regular season. You've got Sam Gregg, who's the new offensive coordinator and offensive line coach at Southern Miss, who's been on Liberty's coaching staff the last 3 years. So that's another variable that you kind of have to worry about in terms of familiarity with the team. Would it be disappointing? Yes. But would it be the end of the world? No, if you can bounce back the following week and get to 1-1.
Hard to win on the road, and always, life is like a box of chocolates in week 1. You never know what you're going to get.
You really don't, yeah.
To close it out, 1 key on the offense, 1 key on the defense, and 1 key on the special teams that gives Liberty a win.
On the offensive side of the ball, I think being able to probably dictate the tempo a little bit. Coach Freeze does like to run the up-tempo offense. We'll see how Charlie does handling the game plan now. Charlie Brewer felt like he had a good idea of the base offense about a week or so ago. This week in practice, Coach Freeze did mention on Wednesday that he thought things were maybe not as good as he would have liked. Maybe trying to put a little too much on Charlie at one time. Thursday went better. So we'll see, how deep his understanding is of the offense up to this point in a game time situation. I think they're going to need to get the running backs involved too. Malik Willis did the majority of the rushing last year with the football, and for obvious reasons. I mean, when you got a talent like that, you use them. But I'd like to see the running backs get involved and show off some of the depth in that room and be able to kind of control the tempo. The defensive side, I think if you can contain Ty Keys, make him a pocket passer, force him to have to make some throws that maybe he's uncomfortable with, get them in some third and long situations, and don't let Brownlee beat you on the outside. Special teams, I think you're just looking for guys to maybe not do anything extraordinary, but don't do anything to lose the game. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Play clean, no penalties. Make the kicks you're expected to make. Those types of
Whenever
things.
I interview my high school coaches, they always say, "Don't allow a big play."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and be sound in the coverage game. Don't allow somebody to swing the game on you in that way.
Nick, as always, we appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll talk to you next week before Alabama-Birmingham.
Sir Alvis, it's always a pleasure.
I didn't even say a thing about Josh Hader either. That is Nick Pierce on the Sports Buffet.